Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Okay, okay, I can hear. Wait a moment. We'll start at 7 o'clock. Okay. We'll start at 7. Mm. Okay, so during this seminar, if you have any question, you can just type in the chat box. I will see that. Okay. Hi, hi. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so today we'll just talk about the last time training. Okay, so actually tomorrow is just the RMO first round, right? And I think all you guys have already prepared a lot during the past maybe 4 or 5 months, and you have already completed a lot of real papers and the mock test. Okay, so today I will just tell you some very key points and the things you must know before you go to the RMO first round. So firstly, yeah, of course, all you guys know me, so I will just skip this one. So let's just have a very easy, simple this brief of the first round. Firstly, the timer will be 1 hour, and we will have 20 MCQs. Okay, so the first 10 question is 4 points, and the next 10 question is 6 points. So 1 point for not answered. So actually, this actually means the 1 point for not answered is not like if you don't know, you just keep it blank, right? So I remember last year I have a student who is very strong in math, and he finally got a NEMO's top 20. And when he tried the AMO, he only got a distinction. When he go out, he say, "Okay, teacher, I keep all the question I don't know blank, so I will get 1 point." Uh, yeah, but actually, if he can just try to guess some question, will have a high probability to get it correct. And also we have the high distinction line. It's about for the open round more than 65 and a junior round more than 55. Okay, so later I will just say more about the score line, and it depends on how you prepare and you go to the second. Okay, so firstly, let's have a small review of what kind of key points we must know. And actually, we have already sent a kind of PDF. The name is RMO must know into our group. So you can check that and do a review. Okay, don't forget any very important, for example, the formula, the conclusion, you can just use. Okay. So firstly is about the calculation. So about the math digit calculation. So once you see a number, for example, 9 or maybe the 101, you should immediately find, okay, so if I directly calculate this 9 and 101, it will be very hard. But you can change it into 999 or just 1000 something minus 1. Okay, this is the math digit calculation. And also about the fraction splitting term. So always remember, if we have the fraction, if the numerator is the difference of two numbers and the denominator is the product of two numbers, you can just use what? Use the fraction decomposition. And also a very important thing, you can see for the RMO, they really like to test this one. And also sometimes you see this in 2022 and 2023. In 2 consecutive years, yes, they take two this kind of question. And also don't forget the Gaussian sum and the square difference. And remember about the Gaussian sum, we have another thing very important is the geometric sequence. Okay, so the geometric sequence actually is very, actually in the primary school, you won't learn this one. It's very normal in the JC or the secondary school, I think. And for the geometric sequence, always not only you need to remember how we calculate the sum, we use the formula to calculate the sum, but also you should know so how we calculate the sum. Actually, they never ask you what is the sum and what is something else. They usually test, okay, so I can times the common multiple and do the subtraction to find out a new pattern. The method you use is very important. They will never, it's very hard for you just to test the formula of the sum of geometry sequence. They just test you how to use that. Okay, so you can see these two questions, or you can just use the same method to do the subtraction and find out the new pattern. Okay, so another one is about the divisibility rules. For example, so this kind of question, once you see a very big or composite number, you should find how I can separate that. And also this one divided by 999. So just remember we have the divisibility rule, right? So we usually depends on, we have the sum rule and sometimes we have the, okay, so see something wrong. Wait a moment. Okay, so we also have the multiple of the 9 and also we have the multiple of the 11. For example, how we use the sum, how we use the difference, how we use the last few digits. So usually you just use what? You just use the last few digits and okay, hi. Okay, so sometimes you first use the last few digits, then use the sum, then use the difference. But this is in the general case. If you see a special question, okay, so please, you can change the order, right? Okay, just remember that. You can just split and do the subtraction. Okay, also, yes, you can find the number theory. We usually use the remainder calculation. So for example, if I want to find out the last two digits, it's actually I just want 100, right? If I just want to find out the last one digit, you just divide by 10. So always remember divide by 10 is the 4 number as the pattern. And for divide by 100 is 20 numbers as the pattern, okay? So also about the exponent and power. The remainder problem is more like you find out the pattern, you can find everything. Okay, so also we have the number series, so you need to do the factor analyze. Okay, so this one actually only two very important things. So how many number of factors do we have? And what is the sum of the factors? And sometimes we can do the combination and find out the reciprocal of the sum of the factors. Actually, it's also very easy. Don't forget the formula. And sometimes the question will be very long. You need to read it very carefully. Okay. So also sometimes you do the LCM and HCF. This one, no any mistake. Okay. So actually for the LCM and HCF, you can just try the prime numbers. If you can, usually you try until this, for example, 23 or 29. The much bigger number is not very commonly seen in this kind of competition. Okay, also about the arithmetic sequence, you should know, and also the question 20, you see this one. Actually, I remember almost every year they will test this question. Last year also have this one, right? So you can use how many numbers we can write as the sum of at least the two consecutive positive numbers. What is the result of the factor minus one, right? And also this one, yes, we always remember the arithmetic sum. And also about ratio, this one is just give you the score for free. Okay, I think everyone should be correct. Usually we suggest like the Nemos, like the, for example, RMO. So actually the ratio, fraction, percentage would be super easy. And please be careful and don't get any calculation mistake. And you just calculate step by step, like the PSLE question. Another thing is like, so some questions they will give you a very strict percentage. I remember it's something like 75 and 1 or 3%. So you need to convert it. Okay, you need to convert it. Be careful about the calculation. And also the inclusion and exclusion usually will have the 2 sets and 3 sets. You remember the relationship between the total numbers and total times. These are very important. Actually, yeah, usually how will they test you? So we have the inclusion and the exclusion. They may ask you what is the maximum or the minimum possible value of 3 parts or the 2 parts. Then you have to try to separate in average like that to find out the extreme value. Okay, so about the proportional journey, it's usually every year we will have 1 or 2 questions, right? And be careful about if the distance is constant, the time and the speed, they are in the inverse proportional order. And if the time is constant, so the distance is in the proportional of the speed, right? This is very easy. And be careful for all the journey problem, please draw the diagram, okay? You have to draw the diagram. And also the circle way, like that, the circular runway question, you also need to draw the diagram and be careful about what is the direction. What is the direction? And after that, use that. And usually they will test you the encounter and the chasing. Encounter is sum of the distance and divided by sum of the speed. And for the chasing, is difference of the distance divided by the difference of the speed. Okay, one more thing is indeterminate equation, indefinite equation. So usually you just list the equations, then you find out the pattern. And also some question you can just use the Searle-Whiston theorem and you can do it very fast. Okay, so this kind of Searle-Whiston theorem actually, yeah, I think if you don't know how to prove that, so I hope you can just remember it. Okay, because the proof is a little I think it's very hard, but for use, it's very easy. And almost every year they will test this one. Okay, so also about geometry. So yeah, if you know about the geometry, so you see, I know this one I have to say, for all the angle calculation, it will not be so hard. It's usually just several models, or you find out a parallel line, and you find out the things, right? So about this one, you can just remember things. So if we have a 2 line, right, and this one, so what kind of, because we have 2 parallel lines, so these 2 angles is same, and these 2 angles is same. Okay, just remember that. Remember that it's very useful, and sometimes you will forget. And also another method is you try to find out the isosceles triangle. For the isosceles triangle, you will have the same angles here. And also about this angle calculation, so remember the sum of the interior angles of n-sided polygon, what is the formula, and sometimes the outer side, right, the angle, you have to make sure. And actually, we'll have another way, right? So I think this one should depend on your teacher. Okay, so if you are doing the competition on the screen, usually it's on computer, right? On the screen. Sometimes I remember last year, one student tell me he just takes out the projector and to measure it. I don't know. Okay, this one should depend on whether your teacher allow you to do that. Okay. My suggestion is don't ask them before, and you just take out. If they say okay, you cannot, you just take back. Okay, so or you can just use the projector to measure and to determine whether your answer is correct. But I have to say this one depends on your school. Okay, some school can, some school maybe cannot. Okay, so another one is about a similarity model. So similarity model is like we have two triangles and they have the same angle. Okay, they have the same angle. We call this is the similar triangle. And sometimes, usually we have two kind of model. One is the pyramid, and the other is like the hourglass, like that. Both of the similarity model it should based on the parallel line. So once you find out the parallel line, you maybe can try to find out this kind of similarity model. And usually, remember the similarity square is the area square, ratio, right? The area ratio is the similarities square. Hey, so another one is about the circle and the sector question. So circle and sector, usually you can see they always use the number 22/7. Okay, pi equals to 22/7. And sometimes, I think this one, sometimes they won't give you this pi equals to 22/7, but usually they will give you. So if they not give you in this question, that makes maybe this answer not related to this pi. And if they just give you maybe if the solution will relate to the 22/7, maybe not. Okay, be careful about that. But if they won't give you this pi equals to 22/7, you need to think about maybe the answer not related to the pi. Okay, so and also about the circle, we usually have two kind of question. One is the circle is moved, one the circle is not moved. Okay. Also, we have the plate inserting method. So this one is also usually test. You can see. So this is the kind of things how I separate, and also remember we need to change all the question, all the condition into at least one. Then use the plate inserting method to separate that. And if sometimes we have the question, so you don't need to separate them all. So remember to borrow another guy to come here to get the remaining things. Like the number related counting, so be careful, okay? Just be careful. Sometimes you can use the remainder to help you do the counting, and sometimes you can just list, use the like the page problem to do the listing, and always you remember to use the permutation and the combination method. And, okay, so these are all the most known key points, but actually if you until now, so I think all the question, all the points, key points, you have already been very, very familiar. And now let's talk about the most important part in any kind of the competition. We have to say it's the time arrangement strategy. Okay, so the time arrangement strategy. Actually, you know how to do all the questions, right? You know how to do all the questions, but you don't have time. Yes, it's very unlucky, right? So I see I have some student here very careful at every question he can make sure all is correct. But usually he won't have time to finish all the questions. So that means if you want to get the content exactly for this RMO first round, your only target is to get into the second round. So actually get into the second round, you need to separate your time very professional. Okay. So firstly, yes, you can see my suggestion is from 0 to 2 minutes, read all the question and mark the capital. And from 2 to 30 minutes, first 30 minutes to finish these 12 questions. Why 12 questions? Imagine you can get the first 12 questions all correct. Yes, maybe you can just go to the second round. You don't need to care about the remaining 8 questions. And also at least you can get the ticket of high distinction. And also the next 30 to 15 minutes, use these 20 minutes to try the 4 questions. Because sometimes you will skip 4 questions, right? 4 questions is too hard. So how do you skip it? Once you read a question in 1 minute, you don't have any idea. Because some questions you can calculate and find out the answer. But some questions in 1 minute, you just read it, you see? Okay, you cannot find any familiar knowledge point you have already learned. So the best way is to skip first. Leave this time to behind, okay? So from the 15 to 16 minutes, please double check your working. Please double check your working. But I know some of you are you 100% can go to the second round, right? So that means you want to get a very good result. So I suggest you use the 0 to 30 minutes or 0 to 40 minutes to finish all the questions. Okay, then use 20 minutes to double check. Use 20 minutes to double check. I think for you guys, 14 minutes is enough for you to answer all the 20 questions. It's not very hard. Okay, so now let's talk about some special skills for MCQ. And also for the RMO, actually, there is a very interesting way. They only have MCQ questions. Not like the smalls, like the Nemos. It's like every question you just need to fill in the blank. But for the MCQ, usually we will use some method. For example, if you have a kind of word problem or something else, you find out the answer. Yes, maybe A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so you don't know how to do that, but you can take the option A, B, C, D inside this question to see which answer is available. Okay, so for example, this one, you see, I know this is a circle question. It's 22/7. What is 22/7? So there, if I want to calculate area, there must be pi r squared. So pi times something. And you see all the option is a kind of integer. So there must be what? 22/7. So that means I need to change it into the integer. So must times 7 times something. So you see this 22/7, I times 7 times something. What's the result? The result must be the multiple of 11. Okay, the multiple of 11. And you can see A, B, C, D. Which one is the multiple of 11? Only 231. Okay, so if you don't know how to do this question, you can just guess. The answer is C. Okay, actually, the real answer is also C. So this one, we can just find the only reasonable one. Also, yes, get the choice back. So this question asking you, what is the minimum value of M? So, you know, A, B, C, D, which one is the minimum? 21 or 42. Then you just take this 21 and 42 inside the question to check which one is the smallest end possible. So it's just the 42, right? It's just 42. Also, find the relationship between the numbers. This one will be a little hard to guess. Well, you see, this one is 46. So this is 46, the only degree I give you. So that means the answer must relate to this 46. And then you see 46, maybe not one of them is related to this 46. Then actually, for normally, you can just connect this AC. You can think maybe I try to separate this 46 degrees into half. So we need to find some relationship between this 23 degrees. Okay, so for this 23 degrees, you should find, okay, maybe I can just, because this is a degree. For the degree, we usually use is, for example, 90 degree, 180 degree, and 360 degrees. So you see which one is related to this 23. 157 plus 23, 180. Okay, so any else relationship between 180 and the answer, or 90 degree between the answer? No. So that means you can just guess the answer is A. Okay, the answer is A. Actually, this one answer is still A. So this is how we guess the question. It's like the Nemos. If sometimes you don't know how to do the question, it's like the area. They just give you one area. You can just compare. Want to calculate the shaded area? Maybe you can compare the shaded area and the bigger area. Which one is bigger? Maybe the area I give you is bigger, so you can just guess the shaded area is half. Maybe it looks like same, so you just guess that number. Okay, so be careful. The question give you only one number. This kind of question is the most easy because you have to start with this one number. Okay, another one, so estimate possible one. So we have a 4 times 4 times 4 cube. So actually you just to discuss if I have one face printed or two face printed or three face printed and try to draw all the face and count one by one. You can easily get a correct answer. It should be 3, right? Okay, so this is also very easy. You just, for any kind of construction and proof question, once you can get one correct construction, believe you, okay, this is the correct answer. Okay, this is the correct answer. Right. So yes, after I tell you all some special skills for the MCQ questions, let's overcome the limitation. Okay. So firstly, this is the skill for you to do the question. We know in 16 minutes, right? So if you get more than 60, you have the high probability to get into the second round. And our only target is to go to the second round. So maybe you can check the question you do. And for example, the first 10 question, can you your goal is just to get 40 point, 40 score, right? And after that you get 40, you get a 50, your uh, score, your goal is just 50. And after that, go to 60. After you get 60, okay, you will not be so nervous, right? After that, it's all the free time. Okay, you can just like your freestyle, you can do all the questions, whatever you want. You know this one, you just do it. All the other things, you just guess, right? Because after 60, you have the high probability to get into the second round. Okay, but at the start, please do all the questions very carefully. And I know some of you are very confident and you are very strong at math, so try your best to do all the questions. All right, so skip the difficulties. So the guideline is just a 1 minute. If you don't have any idea on one question for 1 minute, skip it. Okay, skip it. The time is very limited. Okay, so in average, one question you only have 3 minutes. But can you tell me for the harder question? Of course, you need to take more time. So if you don't know this one, okay, you can skip it. Not means you just skip all of the things you don't know. After that, finally, you can choose some question to guess it. Okay, some of you very strong at math. So actually, A, B, C, D, E, you can just delete maybe three, not definitely not correct answer. And then after that, the two options, two choose one. Yeah, you learn the probability, it will be very high. It will be very high. You can guess it correct. If you definitely don't know anything, I think my suggestion you can keep one or two questions blank. Okay? And double check your work. So the word problem, the counting, and the calculation, just check this three part is very important. Why word problem? Because when you read the question, right? So you just calculate the answer, you just take the answer inside the question to check whether the logic is reasonable, okay? And about counting, why counting you need to check? Because counting is very hard. For example, if I count a 2 digit, I need to check about 3 times because I cannot make sure whether sometimes I miss one or whether sometimes a double count one. So counting every time you check at least about 2 or 3 times, and every time you count, you use the new page, new diagram to count, and you'll find okay, the answer is C. Then you are correct. And the last one is about the calculation. Okay, don't get any wrong on the calculation mistake. Okay, so some of you really like to get some mistake on the calculation. You remember the RMO, we cannot use the calculator. Okay, hi. And also the next one is don't hesitate on E. Each year, in average, 4E in all the question. 4E means what? About 20%. So that means maybe 4E on average, and if you find you have more than E, more E, maybe you are wrong. Okay, maybe you are wrong. But yeah, if believe yourself. Okay, please believe yourself. And you cannot say, okay, this question I don't know, I choose E. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you really don't know, keep it blank. And sometimes you choose many E, so you need to have a double check. Okay, so also yeah, be careful. Today is the last time training, and tomorrow will be the real exam. So tomorrow night, Teacher Ethan will have webinar about the 2025 RMO first round analyzed. So if you have interesting to get what, okay, so yeah, that means they will run through. We will run through the first round paper, and you can just check whether you have the ability. You'll probably go to the second round. Okay. So nearly all questions are word problem. Of course not. I mean, the word problem is like the ratio, percentage, fraction, decimal word problem. Okay? So I think that's all the things I want to tell you guys. And if you have any question about the competition or how you will choose like that, you can just type in the chat box. Okay? You can just type in the chat box. Yeah. Any question? No, I'm all round one. Yeah, all MCQ, all MCQ. Five choice, right? A, B, C, D, E. E is none of the above. Does RMO round two mean high distinction? Okay, so it's different. Every year there will be some unlucky guy. The lucky guy, for example, if last year the second round line is 60 out of 100, and you are 60, okay, you can go to the second round. But you are 58, very unlucky. Okay, I will give you the high distinction, and you cannot go to the second round. So there will be round one high distinction. Yeah, it's very, I have to say it's very unlucky because if you get one more crack, you will get into the second round. Any more questions? What are cutoff points? Okay, so I cannot tell you what is the detailed cutoff point, but I can tell you what we estimate. Okay, so it's here. Yeah, it's about that. Basically, if you are P5 case more than, yeah, more than 55, and it's enough. So 60 go to the round two. Yeah, if you get more than 60, you can go to the round two. Well, RMO combine round one. No, they won't. Well, RMO combine round one and round two marks for total ranking. No, they won't. Okay, it just depends on how you got for in the second round. So the first round is 100. The full mark is 100, and the second round actually it depends on how many questions you get correct. Okay, it depends on how many questions you get correct. It's not like the recent years, a few years ago, like almost the first round, the second round, you plus together more than about 70 or 60, you will get a goal. It's not like that. For AMO, the first round is just you pass or not pass. The second round is another thing. You will have the ranking. Distinction. Hey, we never care about distinction actually. I think one of my students, when he is P3, he also get a distinction. Maybe get just the 4 or 5 question correct, you can get distinction. But actually, distinction no use. Okay, distinction is no use. Yeah. Okay. Any else question? If no else, all the best for you tomorrow. So remember tomorrow 6:30, we'll have another webinar to run through the questions in RMO first round, and you can check how much you can get. Can we measure the length of diagram? Why you need to measure it? Actually, no use, right? Very few people get to the second round. Yes. So last year only three. Last year only three of them get to the second round. Yeah. That's true. That's true. 我不会的题空还是选个答案。呃，如果是4分题，我建议你空着；如果是6分题，我建议你猜一个。但是这取决于你，如果只有一道题是4分题，你空着，你就空着吧。那如果说你有很多题目你空着，那你还是猜一下，尽量猜一下，尽量空的题目不要超过一个，因为你是真的吃不准，你才会去把它空着。如果你都会的话，基本上你排除一下，选一个最有可能的答案就可以了，尽量不要空着。多少人去 second round？去年是40个4、5年级，40个不到38个，然后6年级是差不多要有50多、58、59这样子。Yeah, I'm not talking to you. Okay. So when bronze can we get into? Ah, what is bronze? Yeah, I'm not talking to the question. What is the meaning of when bronze can we get into round 2? You mean when can you get the news, the information you get into the second round? It will be 2 weeks after the competition, 10 working days. What's
Can I
up?
say anything?
Nothing. You want to talk?
No.
You can talk.
Can they see me actually?
Yeah, they can. Hey,
Hi.
no hi, no hi. Bye.
I cannot see here.
Yeah, because it will have the time. Bye. What's the first non-zero digit? I don't know. Okay, so I think there's today's training. If you have more questions, the teacher, your long-term teacher, or you can just ask in group. Okay. So yeah, that's all of today's things. What mark to get into the second round? Get into the second round is just what? Let me see. More than 60. More than 60, you can go to the second round. Yeah, 65 for P6 is. No. It's a student just asking question. I'm still in Tyson. Yeah, 55 before younger. I'm only 24. I don't have some. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all. Yeah, if you have more questions, you can just text me or text others. Okay, see you. Bye.